flow. Love when I spit slow. Astronomical bomb, about to explode. Flip mode, pull out the pistol. You get low, bullets rip past your face and hit your chick, bro. Sad days, look at these mad ways. I blast K's in the last days. Make the government cascade. Last phase, decapitate you with glass trays. On the last play, I'm going for the fast break. Hey, then I chill for a while. Chick from the UK, yeah, I'm making her smile. She a beautiful queen, let me give her the crown. Bring it down to the States, let me show you around. Hey, show you what the revolution about. Chilling on a piece of land, me and you in the house. Little soul flow cold, and I'm making a bounce. Put your hands in the air if you feeling it now. Little soul flows cold, yeah, you feeling it now. Put your hands in the air if you get it, get down. Little soul flows cold, it's that lyrical sound. Hurricane coming through when I'm getting the crown. Little soul flows cold, yeah, you feeling it now. Put your hands in the air if you get it, get down. Little soul flows cold, it's that lyrical sound. Hurricane coming through when I'm getting the crown. Trying to manifest my destiny, bring the best of me. No discrepancies, but the government keep on testing me. They want the less of me, I'ma hit them so heavily. Ever seen the bullet shoot through you when you're parakeet? Living clarity, been through therapy, gave the charity. Now the revolution is here, they say you're scaring me. Just participate, no need to articulate. If you rollin' with the government, you getting killed today. Don't get in my way, enter with the facility. Bullets show they will penetrate. Anybody got some shit to say? Like I'm traveling, throwing lyrics like travelers. Zone war with the madness and show my girl the lavishness. She is extravagant, yeah, my goddess, the happiness. Just unanimous that my baby girl is the baddest chick. The one I'm happy with, Bonnie Clyde is an action. Baby girl just betted on me, that's not an accident. Your soul flows cold, you can feeling it now. Put your hands in the air, you can hit it, get down. Little soul flows cold, it's that lyrical sound. Hurricane coming through when I'm getting the crown. Little soul flows cold, you can feeling it now. Put your hands in the air, you hit it, get down. Little soul flows cold, it's that lyrical sound. Hurricane coming through when I'm getting the crown. Little soul flows cold, you be feeling it now. Put your hands in the air, you hit it, get down. Little soul flows cold, it's that lyrical sound. Hurricane coming through when I'm getting the crown. Little soul flows cold, you be feeling it now. Put your hands in the air, you hit it, get down. Little soul flows cold, it's that lyrical sound. Hurricane coming through when I'm getting the crown. I put my life on wax, coming through, gotta spit these facts. Talk shit, get your wig pushed back. Knock your brains out your snapback, boy, you ain't ready for that. Bow down and pray to your God, cause I'm bringing the bomb. Activate while I chill out a pond. To the government, enough is enough. You ain't drafting us, got a gun and I'm calling you bluff. Detroit, this the place that I claim. Look what I became, revolutionary, spitting some flames. In the end, y'all remember the name, cause I showed y'all the game. Motherfuckers putting chips in your brains, and they still putting shit in your veins. This shit is insane. When we all gonna stand up to fight? Call the goons, they be ready tonight. Some is ready to snipe. Grab your guns and light up the night. Yo, these don't ramble lyrics. I know y'all haters scared to hear it. Fuck it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. These don't ramble lyrics. I know y'all haters scared to hear it. Fuck it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. These the ramble lyrics, I know y'all haters scared to hear it. Fuck it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. I put my life on track so I can spit these lethal rhymes on tracks. Hurricane smoking hydro packs. Got goons in the black lack. Everybody loading the strap. About to show the motherfuckers who boss. Run in the facility. Take the fucking head right off. Dead by dog. Y'all can't compare my dog. Create a whole bloody scene. They like, oh my god, fuck the law. About to go and break their jaw. Walk through the mean streets with the safety off. Face me, dog. Make you like a pastry dog. Got 'em on the battlefield. Can't chase me, dog. You're crazy soft, might as well play VR. Cause in the real world, man, your face be off. Can't say soft, they would never trace your call. Cause we made it to the scene and we blast them all. These some ramble lyrics, I know y'all haters scared to hear it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. These some ramble lyrics, I know y'all haters scared to hear it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. These some ramble lyrics, I know y'all haters scared to hear it. Fuck it. And I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. lyrics. I know y'all haters scared to hear it. Fuck it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. These some rebel lyrics. I know y'all haters scared to hear it. Fuck it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. These some rebel lyrics. I know y'all haters scared to hear it. Fuck it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. These some rebel lyrics. I know y'all haters scared to hear it. Fuck it. I'ma keep on spitting while y'all haters keep on tripping. You already know what it is. I'm about to talk about all the I guess all the spiritual practices.
Age. The shamanic age represents humanity's earliest form of spiritual awakening, stretching back to prehistoric times, long before organized religion or written language. This era was marked by a deep and instinctual connection between human beings and the natural world. Early humans believed that every element of nature, animals, rivers, trees, mountains, even the wind, was alive with spirit. This worldview is known as animism, and it laid the foundation for nearly all spiritual systems that followed. Shamans emerged as the first spiritual leaders, mystics, healers, and intermediaries between the physical and spiritual realms. Through altered states of consciousness induced by drumming, dancing, fasting, or entheogens like psychedelic plants, shamans would journey to invisible worlds to communicate with spirits, receive guidance, heal the sick, and maintain the balance between humans and nature. These experiences weren't considered supernatural. They were seen as natural parts of existence. During this era, spirituality was communal and experience-based. Rituals were conducted in caves, around fires, or at sacred natural sites, often involving masks, symbols, and trance-like ceremonies. Life and death, dreams and visions, animals and ancestors, everything was interconnected. The shamanic age reminds us that the original human spirituality wasn't about dogma, it was about relationship, intuition, and deep reverence for the earth. Early pagan age. The early pagan age, approximately 10,000 BCE to 3000 BCE, emerged alongside the birth of agriculture and permanent settlement. As humans began cultivating the land and depending on seasonal cycles, their spiritual focus shifted toward honoring the earth, the skies, and the natural forces that sustain life. This era saw the rise of pagan belief systems, which viewed nature not just as a resource, but as a living embodiment of the divine. The earth was mother, the sun a giver of life, and the moon a sacred timekeeper. Spirituality became intertwined with the rhythms of planting, harvest, fertility, and weather. During this period, goddess worship was widespread, reflecting the importance of fertility, motherhood, and the creative power of nature. Sacred rituals were performed to ensure good harvests, healthy births, and protection from natural disasters. People built stone circles, altars, and temples to honor deities linked to the seasons, animals, rivers, and the stars. The divine was understood in polytheistic terms, with many gods and goddesses representing specific aspects of life and nature. Spiritual leaders, often priestesses, druids, or tribal elders, led ceremonies during solstices, equinoxes, and lunar events. The early pagan age represents a time when spirituality and survival were one, and the divine was experienced through direct relationship with the land. Mythic era. The Mythic era, around 3000 BCE to 1000 BCE, marks a profound shift in human spirituality, where oral traditions evolved into structured mythologies that explain the cosmos, divine law, human purpose, and the origins of life. As civilizations like ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, Greece, and China grew more complex, so did their spiritual systems. Gods and goddesses became part of elaborate pantheons, and myths were used to encode moral lessons, natural laws, and cosmic truths. Religion became centralized, often tied to kingship and state power, and sacred texts began to emerge. During this era, the divine was no longer just in nature, it was personified in powerful deities who governed creation, destruction, war, love, death, and destiny. Stories of gods like Ra, Enki, Indra, Zeus, and Marduk explained everything from the seasons to human suffering. These myths weren't just entertainment, they were sacred narratives that shaped how people viewed the world and their role in it. Through myth, humans found order in chaos and meaning in mystery. Temples were built as homes for the gods, and priests became full-time spiritual mediators. Rituals, sacrifices, and festivals were formalized. Cosmic events like eclipses, floods, or droughts were interpreted as the will of the gods. This era also gave rise to sacred literature, such as the Rig Veda, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and early parts of the Torah. Axial Age. The Axial Age, approximately 800 BCE to 200 BCE, is considered one of the most transformative periods in human spiritual history. Coined by philosopher Karl Jaspers, this era witnessed a simultaneous and independent emergence of moral philosophy, introspection, and spiritual awakening across different parts of the world. In regions as diverse as India, China, Greece, Persia, and Israel, thinkers and spiritual leaders began to question the nature of reality, the self, and the divine. This shift moved humanity away from myth-based religion toward inner transformation and universal truth. Key figures of the Axial Age include the Buddha in India, Confucius and Lao Tzu in China, the Hebrew prophets in Israel, Zoroaster in Persia, and Socrates, Plato, and Pythagoras in Greece. Despite being from vastly different cultures, they all emphasize self-awareness, compassion, justice, and the idea that the divine or the ultimate truth was accessible through inner experience, reason, or ethical living. This was a turning point where spirituality became more concerned with the internal soul than external rituals. Religious systems like Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Zoroastrianism, and Greek philosophy either emerged or were deeply refined during this time. These traditions taught that human beings had a role in shaping their destiny through moral action, and that suffering, injustice, and ignorance could be overcome through wisdom and virtue. The Axial Age laid the groundwork for personal spirituality, ethical monotheism, metaphysics, and later mystical and religious reformation. The mystical age of religion was a time when organized religions solidified their doctrines, yet simultaneously gave rise to powerful mystical movements that emphasized personal union with the divine. While mainstream religions focused on structure, authority, and orthodoxy, mystics sought a direct inner experience of God or ultimate reality. This era saw the spread of Christianity, Islam, and Mahayana Buddhism, as well as the deepening of Jewish Kabbalah, Sufism, and Hindu Vedanta. Mysticism during this age was often a reaction to rigid dogma. Mystics believed that spiritual truth could not be fully captured in books or institutions. It had to be felt, lived, and experienced in the soul. Figures like Jesus of Nazareth, Rumi, Plotinus, Gregory of Nyssa, Padmasambhava embodied this approach. Their teachings spoke of divine love, inner light, unity with the cosmos, and the soul's journey toward transcendence. Monasteries, temples, and Sufi lodges became centers for contemplation, meditation, prayer, and ascetic practices. Mystical writings such as the Cloud of Unknowing, the Bhagavad Gita, Taoist alchemical text, and Sufi poetry revealed symbolic paths to inner awakening. These teachings often used metaphors, paradoxes, and visionary language to describe the indescribable, oneness with God, nirvana, or the eternal source of all things. This age highlighted the universal longing for direct connection with the sacred beyond intermediaries. Though often persecuted by religious authorities, mystics across traditions tapped into the same spiritual current that true awakening comes not through belief alone, but through inner transformation and divine experience. Esoteric Renaissance. The Esoteric Renaissance, roughly from 1200 to 1600 CE, was a revival of hidden knowledge, mystical philosophy, and inner spiritual exploration that flourished in Europe during the late medieval and early modern periods. While the mainstream religious world was dominated by rigid doctrine and institutional power, especially within the Catholic Church, a parallel current of thought emerged among philosophers, mystics, and alchemists who sought personal enlightenment through secret wisdom. This period saw a resurgence of Hermeticism, Kabbalah, Neoplatonism, alchemy, and early forms of occult science. Fueled by translations of ancient texts from Greece, Egypt, and the Islamic world, European thinkers began reconnecting with ideas that had long been suppressed or forgotten. The Corpus Hermeticum, once buried in obscurity, reintroduced the notion that humans possess a divine spark capable of uniting with the cosmos. Alchemists like Paracelsus and Nicholas Flamel pursued spiritual transmutation, the purification of the soul. Meanwhile, Christian mystics like Meister Eckhart offered bold visions of union with God that defied conventional theology. Secret societies and esoteric schools such as the Rosicrucians began forming, preserving mystical knowledge and passing it through initiation. Art, science, and spirituality were no longer seen as separate paths, but as interconnected ways to access divine truth. The esoteric Renaissance was a bridge between ancient spiritual wisdom and the modern world. Enlightenment and spiritual rebellion. The Enlightenment and spiritual rebellion era was a time of dramatic transformation where reason and science began to challenge religious authority and individuals sought new spiritual paths. This period, known as the Age of Enlightenment, emphasized logic, empirical knowledge, and human rights, but beneath the surface, a powerful undercurrent of spiritual rebellion was growing. People began to question not only political power, but also the monopoly of religion over truth. While mainstream institutions tried to contain belief within rigid doctrines, thinkers and mystics explored alternative routes to the divine. Mystical Christianity, deism, pantheism, and natural religion began to rise. Enlightenment figures like Spinoza, Voltaire argued for a God found in nature, reason, and moral law rather than in rituals or clergy. Others, such as William Blake, openly defied religious orthodoxy through poetry and visionary art. During this era, secret societies like the Freemasons and Rosicrucians flourished, offering initiatory paths to enlightenment that blended symbolism, mysticism, and philosophical inquiry. These groups often promoted ideals of inner transformation, universal brotherhood, and resistance to tyranny. The occult revival and Eastern influence era, from the 1800s to the early 1900s, was a time of renewed spiritual curiosity that emerged as people grew disillusioned with materialism and rigid religious structures. In response, seekers turned inward, reviving ancient mystical paths and exploring wisdom from the East. This era saw the return of traditions like Hermeticism, alchemy, tarot, and ritual magic, now reframed as tools for spiritual evolution rather than superstition. Key figures like Madame Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley, along with groups such as the Theosophical Society and the Golden Dawn, brought occult teachings to the forefront. This period became a bridge between East and West, science and mysticism, and inner and outer knowledge, laying the groundwork for today's spiritual movements, focused on consciousness and personal transformation. New Age movement. The New Age movement from the 1960s to the early 2000s was a widespread spiritual awakening that blended ancient wisdom, modern psychology, and alternative healing into a highly individualized path of self-discovery and inner transformation. It emerged as part of the broader countercultural revolution of the 1960s when many people began rejecting traditional religion, rigid science, and materialistic worldviews in search of personal meaning, higher consciousness, and global unity. At the heart of the New Age ethos was the belief that humanity was entering a new era, an age of Aquarius marked by spiritual evolution, harmony, and enlightenment. The movement drew heavily from Eastern religions like Hinduism and Buddhism, Western esoteric traditions, native spirituality, astrology, mysticism, channeling, and even extraterrestrial theories. It emphasized that divinity exists within each individual, and that through practices like meditation, energy healing like Reiki, crystal work, visualization, yoga, and affirmations, people could awaken their true potential. Age of consciousness. The age of consciousness from the early 2000s till date marks a global shift toward inner awareness, personal transformation, and expanded states of mind. Unlike past eras focused on gods or rituals, this period centers on consciousness itself as the source of spiritual experience. With influences from neuroscience, meditation, plant medicine, and Eastern practices like yoga and mindfulness, spirituality has become more personal, psychological, and holistic. Tools like breathwork, shadow work, lucid dreaming, and energy healing reflect a desire for deep healing and authenticity in an increasingly disconnected world. People now seek truth through direct experience, guided by intuition rather than dogma. Concepts like vibration, frequency, manifestation, and oneness are reshaping the spiritual language of our time. This era is not just about self-discovery. It's part of a collective awakening aimed at evolving humanity through compassion, connection, and conscious living.
You got to know thyself, and when you know, you know.
When you know, you know. When you know, you know. When you know, you know.
Fantastic Frequency Friday.
You know. When you know,
get y'all some knowledge in you.
When you know, you know.
The Empire.
When you know yourself, you see the vision. Multi-dimension, parallel worlds with you ascended. Shut the work in the work. I was an introvert, broke out the shell, time to put in work. I'm in the burst. I think government, Democrats, and Republicans, fucking mulligan. Only get one shot, then I'm done with it. I'm the master, I calculated the data with dark matter. Using the elements, make the space shatter. Hate chatter, fed softer than cake batter. Let's take matters from Earth to space battles. Like an anime, from Sunday through Saturday. Using alchemy, playing with magic like Final Fantasy. Final boss, the blade longer than Sephiroth. Black Messiah, hell yeah, I bear the cross. I'm a rebel, fight for a cause. The universal law, fight the enemy through the stars.
When you know, you know. 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 When you know, you know.
When you know yourself, you see the power, the very power that turning enemies to cowards, they get devoured. I turn the minutes into hours, they look sour. Hurry game, it's like the clock tower. Spit the mantra, analytical monster. With the truth, I'm a conquer, enemies acting bonkers. I'm exuberant, stay maneuvering, hooligan, super cute to the moon again. Hell no, I ain't doing no. Destroy the temple when using powers of elementals. So essential to my team, despite the differential. I'm a warrior, keep it simple. My flow make it triple, instrumental, cause it did mention no time ripples. Do good into bicycles, I slice missiles. Cut together man, I turn tanks into bicycles. I'm a rebel, fight for a cause. Universal law, throw the enemy through the scars, kill them all.
When you know, you know. When you know, you know. When you know, you know. When you know. When you know, you know. When you know, you know. When you know, you know. Yeah.
Better know thyself, you better listen. You hear me? Better know thyself, you better listen. You hear me? Better know thyself, you better listen. Better know thyself, better know thyself, you better listen. Let that beat rock. Better know thyself, you better listen. Let that beat rock. You better listen. Better know thyself, you better listen. Gotta know thyself, you better listen. Take attention. Better know thyself, you better listen.
Now, most people don't know about these paths. See, there are other paths to enlightenment or spirituality or like whatever, you know, like connecting with source. There are other paths. Some people like to call it the dark side of the force, or the left-hand path, or the chaos path, or like whatever. But about to get off into it. Y'all might not know some of these things, but some of y'all probably have heard of the left-hand path. But we're about to get off into more. Are y'all ready? Would you like to know more?
Meditation, fast, agori. You probably heard that some spiritual paths require sacrifice, meditation, fasting, giving up alcohol, meat, comfort, your situationship. The Agoris heard all of that and said no. Actually, the opposite. They live in cremation grounds, on purpose, not passing through, living there. Sleeping next to burning corpses, meditating on decomposing bodies, wearing ash from human remains on their skin like it's a morning routine. And to them, it is. The logic is actually coherent, which is the unsettling part. Agori philosophy says that Shiva, their god, is present in everything, the beautiful and the disgusting, the sacred and the profane. So if you can only feel God in a clean temple with incense and soft lighting, you haven't really found God. You found a preference. And preferences are the ego, and the ego is the problem. So they systematically destroy every preference they have by living inside everything society calls repulsive until nothing triggers disgust anymore. Enlightenment through radical non-discrimination, which sounds philosophical until you find out what radical non-discrimination actually involves. They drink alcohol from human skulls. They eat flesh from corpses left at the cremation ground, not killed, already dead. Important distinction. They have standards, all of it intentional, all of it considered deeply sacred. And the thing is, this isn't ancient history packaged nicely in a documentary. Agoras exist right now, today. There are living men sitting in cremation grounds in Varanasi as you watch this, doing exactly what was just described, completely unbothered. No irony, no performance. They're also known to have real power. Locals don't mess with them. The sick come to them for healing. There are accounts of Aghori sadhus with genuine abilities. Whether you believe in that or not, the people around them do, and have for centuries. You don't survive as a tradition for that long purely on shock value. Thuggee. Most cults want your money. Maybe your time. Maybe they slowly isolate you from your family and have you selling supplements at airports. The Thuggee wanted exactly one thing, and they were extremely good at getting it. They wanted to strangle you. Not out of anger, not robbery, though they took your belongings after. That was almost administrative. The strangling was the point. It was an offering to Kali, goddess of destruction and time, who according to Thuggee theology had a deal with humanity. She would destroy the demons threatening the world, but in exchange, humans owed her blood. The Thuggee were just the ones taking that contract seriously. The operation was elegant in a way that's genuinely uncomfortable to admire. A group of Thuggee would join a traveling party on the road. Merchants, pilgrims, soldiers, didn't matter. They traveled together for days, sometimes weeks, long enough to become familiar, trusted. The kind of people you'd share a meal with and complain to about the journey. Then, at a chosen moment, usually camped, usually relaxed, a handkerchief called a rumah would come out, and it was over in seconds. Trained, coordinated, silent. Bodies buried in pre-dug graves by dedicated members of the group who'd been digging while everyone else handled the conversation. This wasn't improvised. It was a hereditary profession passed from father to son. You were born into it. You trained for it. There were rules. Women were generally not to be killed, though that rule eroded over time. The British estimated somewhere between 1 and 2 million people killed over the centuries the Thuggee operated. That number is contested by historians, but even the conservative estimates are staggering. They weren't a fringe group. They were a parallel economy of death, running underneath normal Indian society for hundreds of years, invisible because the bodies were buried, and the perpetrators looked exactly like everyone else on the road. What ended them was one colonial officer named William Sleeman, who in the 1830s essentially built the first criminal network database, mapping routes, informants, confessions, and dismantled the operation systematically over decades. The word thug comes directly from them. Left-hand path. The term comes from Sanskrit vama marga, left path. In ritual context, the left side was associated with the feminine, the transgressive, the impure. The right-hand path uses conventional morality as the vehicle for spiritual ascent, discipline, purity, obedience, self-denial. You become closer to God by becoming more acceptable. The left-hand path runs the opposite direction entirely, spiritual ascent, discipline, purity, obedience, self-denial. You become closer to God by becoming more acceptable. The left-hand path runs the opposite direction entirely. You become closer to truth by becoming more honest, and honesty, it turns out, includes everything society decided to bury. The core argument is simple and has never been successfully refuted. Every spiritual system tells you the ego is the obstacle, the self, the personality, the bundle of desires and fears and identities you've built up. That's what's blocking enlightenment. The right-hand path says, dissolve it through virtue. The left-hand path says, dissolve it through transgression. Break every rule you've internalized. Do the thing you were told was forbidden. Not because you're rebellious, because the prohibition itself is the cage. And you can't transcend the cage you're still pretending isn't there. So the practice becomes whatever your particular culture decided was most forbidden. In medieval Europe, that meant Sabbaths, packed with demons, inversion of Christian ritual. In Tantric India, it meant the 5 makaras, meat, fish, wine, grain, and sex, consumed ritually in cremation grounds at midnight. In Western ceremonial magic, it meant working with the cliff oath, the shadow side of the Kabbalistic tree, the shells, the husks, the parts of divinity that didn't make the official map. Always the same structure. Find the boundary, cross it deliberately, see what's on the other side. What makes this genuinely difficult to dismiss is that it keeps producing results. The mystics associated with left-hand traditions consistently report experiences that right-hand practitioners spend decades trying to reach. The harder question is what happens.
And that's why the Sith Lords in Star Wars are very powerful. You know, when they go to the path of the darkness, you know, you obtain full fucking power. You know, not saying that you're not powerful as a Jedi, because you are, but when it comes to the fucking powers of the dark side, it's the shit. I mean, like it's the shit. And like when you get into the lore, because y'all know about the red sword and the blue sword and the green sword, but there's a purple sword. That's the one that's wielded by Mace Windu, Samuel Jackson. But that force is, when it's purple, that means you have mastered the dark side and your light side. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I wish they expand on the lore of the purple sword, because the purple sword is very important. Very, very fucking important. To me, like, I think like they should be the strongest Jedis, because they mastered the light and the darkness of the force. Most motherfuckers are afraid. Oh my God, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be dark. Let me not think negative. No, dog, if somebody pissed you off, you're gonna have that thought, bitch, I'm gonna cut your head off. But anyway, look, I digress. But it's the left-hand pad. Let me go back 20 seconds so you can hear this again.
It's associated with left-hand traditions consistently report experiences that right-hand practitioners spend decades trying to reach. The harder question is what happens when the method works but the practitioner doesn't. Because the left-hand path has no guardrails by design. That's the point. Which means the same door that leads to genuine liberation also leads to genuine destruction of yourself, of others, of everything around you. And the tradition doesn't particularly distinguish between the two outcomes in advance. You find out afterward. Most spiritual paths promise you safety in exchange for obedience. The left-hand paths promises you nothing except that you'll find out what's actually true. Which sounds appealing until you consider that what's actually true might not be comfortable, might not be redemptive, might not leave you intact. Voodoo. Hollywood did something genuinely impressive with voodoo. It took one of the most complex, ancient, and internally coherent spiritual systems on Earth and compressed it into a white woman getting stabbed with a doll in a third act twist. Decades of films, decades. And somehow that's still the first image, which is unfortunate, because the real thing is significantly more interesting and significantly more terrifying than the doll. Vodou, spelled properly, is a living religion practiced by millions of people across Haiti, West Africa, Brazil, New Orleans, and the diaspora. It has theology, cosmology, priesthood, ethical codes, community structure, healing traditions, and a relationship with the dead that makes every other religion's treatment of mortality look like it's still in the shallow end. It survived the Middle Passage. It survived slavery. It survived colonial suppression. Catholic, significantly more terrifying than a doll. Vodou, spelled properly, is a living religion practiced by millions of people across Haiti, West Africa, Brazil, New Orleans, and the diaspora. It has theology, cosmology, priesthood, ethical codes, community structure, healing traditions, and a relationship with the dead that makes every other religion's treatment of mortality look like it's still in the shallow end. It survived the Middle Passage. It survived slavery. It survived colonial suppression, Catholic forced conversion, and 2 centuries of being described as primitive by people whose own religious history includes the Inquisition. It's still here. That alone should tell you something about what you're dealing with. The foundation is the law. Spirits, intermediaries between humans and the supreme creator Bande, who is too vast and too distant to be approached directly. Each law has a domain, personality, specific offerings they accept, specific ways they move, specific things they will and won't do. Urzuli Freda governs love and is extremely particular about her rum and her jewelry. Ogo governs war and iron and will tell you things you didn't ask to know. Baron Samedi governs death and has the energy of a man who has seen everything and finds most of it funny. You don't worship the law abstractly. You have relationships with them, personal, ongoing, demanding relationships that require maintenance, reciprocity, and a level of spiritual accountability that most Western religious practice quietly abandoned around the 15th century. The ceremonies are where it becomes visceral, drumming, singing, dancing, not as performance, as technology. The rhythm is designed to open a specific door, and when the door opens, the law don't send a message, they arrive. Possession in Vodou is not metaphor. A law mounts a practitioner, and the practitioner's consciousness steps aside entirely. What moves, speaks, drinks, dances, and dispenses advice is the law. People who've witnessed genuine Vodou possession describe something that doesn't resemble acting, doesn't resemble dissociation, and doesn't resemble anything in the standard psychological literature. The mounted person does things their body shouldn't physically be able to do, speaks in voices they don't own, knows things they have no access to, then returns, exhausted with no memory of what happened. Vodou has a left hand too. The Bokau are sorcerers who do what priests won't, curses, bindings, death work, even zombification, and not the Hollywood kind. In the 1980s, ethnobotanist Wade Davis documented how Haitian Bokars allegedly speaks in voices they don't own, knows things they have no access to, then returns, exhausted with no memory of what happened. Vodou has a left hand too. The Bokau are sorcerers who do what priests won't, curses, bindings, death work, even zombification, and not the Hollywood kind. In the 1980s, ethnobotanist Wade Davis documented how Haitian Bokars allegedly used powders containing tetrodotoxin from pufferfish to induce a death-like state. Victims could be buried, exhumed, and left neurologically damaged and controllable. Zombies weren't monsters. They were people stripped of identity, freedom, and will, while their bodies kept moving. Vodou's core belief is simple, but unsettling. The dead are not gone. They are still present, aware, and involved. Ceremonies are less about worship and more about maintaining relationships with forces that existed before you and will outlast you. Palo Mayombe. Palo came from the Bakongo people of Central Africa and survived slavery by becoming spiritually impossible to erase. The Spanish tried to convert it. The church tried to sanitize it. At the center of Palo is the Ganga, an iron cauldron filled with bones, grave dirt, sticks, herbs, rum, metal, animal remains, and other ritual materials. Practitioners don't see it as symbolic. The Ganga is believed to literally house a spirit called the Fumbi, a dead person bound into the vessel and working with the practitioner through ritual exchange. Which means this religion skipped the whole "this represents transformation" phase and went straight to "there's a dead guy in the pot and we have an agreement." Practitioners speak to the Ganga, feed it, negotiate with it, and claim it has moods. In Palo, the dead are not gone. They are co-workers, occasionally angry co-workers. There are different kinds of practitioners. Some focus on healing, protection, and solving problems. Others work in the darker side of the tradition, curses, spiritual attacks, and rituals involving the dead. And this isn't treated like spooky campfire folklore inside the religion. It's treated seriously, like handling radioactive material. Useful, powerful, and absolutely not something you mess with casually. Kalisti. Russia has a specific talent for producing religious movements that start with genuine mystical insight and end with something requiring 3 historians and a therapist to explain. The Kalisti are exactly that. They believe the Holy Spirit could descend into any human body. Not just saints, not just clergy, anyone. Tonight, the question was how to open the vessel. Their answer was ecstasy, the kind that completely bypasses the rational mind. So their ceremonies involved frenzied singing, spinning until consciousness shifted, and flagellation, not for punishment, or dissolution. When the body is overwhelmed, the ego steps back. And in that gap, they believed, God entered. Then it got complicated. The ecstatic state frequently became sexual. The theology around this was internally consistent and completely insane. Sin was the precondition for repentance. Repentance was the path to grace, and deep grace required deep sin. You couldn't be forgiven for what you hadn't done. So the ceremonies moved from whipping to collective sexual activity to genuine repentance, and they believed the resulting state of grace was inaccessible to people living cautiously within conventional morality. The arithmetic of salvation taken to its conclusion.
You already know. Now we're on the last video that we're going to get up out of here. Now it's time to talk about people.
Imagine living in a world where the loudest voice is mistaken for the wisest. where influence replaces wisdom and popularity becomes the new measure of truth. Now, stop imagining, because that is precisely the world we live in today. A society that once sought enlightenment through philosophy, reason, and virtue has slowly begun to worship ignorance disguised as confidence. How did we get here? How did the human race, capable of such profound thought and beauty, end up celebrating superficiality over substance? Today, we are going to explore that through the lens of Socrates, the man who dared to question everything and paid with his life for it. And stay with me until the end, because the final revelation will completely change the way you see modern culture and your own place within it. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, do you think our society still values wisdom, or have we traded it for entertainment? Because what you'll discover today might not only challenge your opinions, it might shake the very foundation of how you understand human progress. Socrates once walked through the streets of Athens, asking questions that made people uncomfortable. He exposed the illusion of knowledge, the false confidence of those who believed they knew when in truth they did not. His mission was simple: to awaken people from intellectual sleep. Yet in our age, the sleep has become even deeper. The difference is, now we celebrate it. The philosopher warned of a time when opinion would overshadow truth, when the masses would elevate those who speak pleasing words rather than honest ones. That time, which once seemed like a distant prophecy, has become our daily reality. Look around. Our idols are not thinkers, creators, or truth seekers. They are entertainers, influencers, and provocateurs who thrive on attention, not understanding. The ancient Greek agora has turned into the digital stage of social media, where the currency is likes, not logic. But the problem isn't just out there, it's within us. We are drawn to the spectacle. We reward simplicity over complexity, emotion over reason, image over essence. And this is precisely what Socrates warned against. He believed that the greatest danger to society was not ignorance itself, but the illusion of knowledge. When people stop questioning and start believing they already know everything, wisdom dies. Think about that for a moment. When was the last time you heard someone admit, "I don't know"? In Socrates' time, such humility was a sign of intelligence. Today, it's seen as weakness. We are taught to speak louder, not to think deeper. We are told to have opinions about everything, even when we understand nothing. And so we have built a civilization that confuses visibility with value. The more people see you, the more important you must be, even if what you say has no depth or truth. This worship of appearance is exactly what Socrates fought against. He challenged the sophists, the so-called wise men, who used rhetoric and manipulation to appear intelligent while deceiving others for personal gain. Sound familiar? The sophists of ancient Athens have been reborn as modern influencers, politicians, and self-proclaimed experts who know how to say what people want to hear. They thrive in the same way, by exploiting ignorance and feeding ego. But here's the deeper tragedy. Socrates believed that ignorance could be cured through questioning and dialogue. What happens when people no longer want to be cured? Our era is not short on information, it's drowning in it. But knowledge without wisdom is noise. We have access to more data than any generation before us, yet we understand less about ourselves and each other. The irony is striking. The more we think we know, the less we actually learn. Socrates' greatest lesson was that wisdom begins in recognizing one's own ignorance. "I know that I know nothing," he said. Those words, simple yet profound, were meant to humble the human ego. But today, they sound almost alien in a world obsessed with self-certainty. Imagine if the leaders of our world, the creators of our media, or even we ourselves, could embrace that humility again. How different would our society look? Stay with me, because later in this video we'll uncover how Socrates predicted the downfall of societies that abandon self-knowledge, and how his warning directly applies to the digital age. But before we get there, let's look at what truly lies at the heart of this cultural transformation, the replacement of wisdom with entertainment. Because once we understand how we got here, we can begin to see why we keep repeating the same mistakes, and perhaps how to break free from them. Socrates believed that a society could only flourish if its citizens sought truth above comfort. He warned that when people begin to value pleasure, status, and entertainment more than wisdom and virtue, decline becomes inevitable, and what he saw beginning in ancient Athens has now become the defining feature of our age. Look around. Our heroes are no longer the thinkers who question, but the performers who distract. We scroll endlessly, seeking stimulation rather than reflection. In a single moment, we can witness tragedy, comedy, and absurdity, all mixed together, each competing for a fraction of our attention. It's not that intelligence disappeared, it's that attention became the new god we serve. And attention, unlike wisdom, does not care about truth. Socrates might ask us today, are you truly thinking or are you merely reacting? Because what passes for thought in modern culture is often just the echo of other people's opinions. We consume ideas like fast food, quickly, emotionally, and without digestion. But the mind, like the body, cannot thrive on junk. When the intellect is fed only with spectacle, it becomes weak, unable to distinguish knowledge from illusion. In Athens, Socrates walked barefoot through the marketplace, asking questions that stripped people of their pretensions. What is justice? What is virtue? What is the good life? These weren't idle inquiries. They were attempts to bring people back to the essence of being human, self-knowledge. But imagine Socrates walking today through our digital marketplace, the endless feeds of social media, the constant flood of commentary. Would anyone stop to listen? Or would they scroll past, looking for the next distraction? Plato, his student, recorded Socrates' belief that democracy could only survive if citizens were educated in virtue and reason. Without that foundation, he warned, people would begin to elect those who tell them what they want to hear, rather than what they need to hear. Does that sound familiar? Because we are living in the very scenario he described. Our public discourse has turned into theater, where truth competes with popularity and often loses. The problem is not technology itself, it's the psychology behind it. Every click, every share, every like reinforces our emotional impulses, not our rational thought. We are conditioned to seek validation rather than understanding. This is how the worship of ignorance begins, not as a conscious choice, but as a gradual surrender. When you stop questioning, you start following. When you follow without thought, you begin to worship. Socrates would have called this moral decay. The moment when society forgets the purpose of life is not to be entertained, but to become wise. Yet, this decay hides behind the illusion of progress. We have faster communication, smarter machines, and more comfort than any previous generation, and yet we are lonelier, more anxious, and more divided than ever before. How can a society that knows so much understand so little about itself? Think about the paradox. We celebrate influencers, but few of them influence anyone toward truth. We elevate those who express opinions, but rarely those who pursue understanding. Our world rewards those who appear certain, even when they are wrong, and mocks those who admit doubt, even when they are wise. Socrates would have been cancelled before he ever reached the court of Athens, not for corruption, but for asking questions that made people uncomfortable. He said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Yet, the modern world is built upon distraction designed to prevent that examination. Constant entertainment has become the new philosophy, and pleasure the new truth. The ancient Greeks had a word for this, hubris, the arrogance of thinking we know better than wisdom itself. And history shows that hubris always ends the same way, with collapse. But here lies a question we must all confront. Is there still hope for a return to wisdom? Can a civilization addicted to noise rediscover silence, the silence where thought, reflection, and self-awareness are born? Carl Jung once said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls.
Yeah, they would do everything absurd to face their own soul. And I've seen it firsthand. You know, dealing with family, even my own fucking mom, family, friends, they would go down the path of self-destruction before they would change who the fuck they are. You know, and it's sad. It's fucking sad. Like, I don't know what's going on in their head. I don't know where they gave up. When did they lose hope? But these are the type of people that fuck up the goddamn society and then put their kids through pain and trauma that they got to overcome when they get older. Dealing with these type of people. You know what I'm saying? But like now it's all around us. It's all around us. Shout out to Big Dog Philly. Yo, G, what's good? What's good? We talking about how society values stupidity over wisdom and intelligence.
Is the embodiment of that truth. We fill every empty moment with content because silence feels like confrontation. We would rather drown in distraction than swim in introspection. But Jung, like Socrates, believed that the path to healing begins with awareness, the courage to face oneself without illusion. What makes Socrates timeless is not his methods but his mindset. He didn't claim to have the answers. He simply knew that asking the right questions was more powerful than pretending to know the truth. Imagine how our society would transform if people valued humility over ego, reflection over reaction. Imagine if being thoughtful became more admired than being loud. And yet, Socrates would remind us that every individual still has the power to resist the tide. Wisdom begins not with institutions, but with the individual choice to seek truth rather than comfort. You can't change the entire culture, but you can change your relationship with it. You can choose to listen more deeply, to think more critically, to speak less and understand more. That is how revolutions of consciousness begin. Quietly, within. Stay with me, because in the next part, we will explore the mechanisms that keep societies blind, the psychological and cultural forces that transform ignorance into power, and most importantly, we'll uncover Socrates' hidden message about how individuals can awaken in a world that rewards stupidity. That insight, perhaps more than any other, holds the key to reclaiming wisdom in the modern age. Socrates believed that ignorance was not simply the absence of knowledge, but a kind of moral blindness, a refusal to see. And this blindness is not random. It is engineered, cultivated, and maintained by forces that understand how easily human beings can be distracted and manipulated. To understand how societies begin to worship fools, we must first understand how power hides in plain sight. Throughout history, those who seek control have always learned one lesson. It is easier to rule the distracted than to govern the wise. In ancient Athens, the sophists used rhetoric to confuse logic, turning debate into theater. They charged high fees to teach persuasion rather than truth. Their goal was not enlightenment, but influence. They turned philosophy, once the pursuit of wisdom, into a business. Today, that same spirit dominates our media, our politics, and our culture. We no longer sell ideas, we sell attention, and attention has become the world's most valuable currency. Whoever controls what people look at, controls what they think about. Socrates understood this danger long before algorithms existed. He saw how easily the human mind could be flattered into obedience. He warned that people prefer the comfort of pleasing lies to the discomfort of hard truth. When you study his dialogues, you notice something profound. Socrates never told people what to believe. He simply asked questions until their illusions collapsed under their own weight. That was his weapon.
So
not anger,
Monkey Man,
not
what's good?
ideology, but reason. Today, such questioning...
Yeah, we're talking about how modern society values stupidity over wisdom. Where we used to look up to philosophers, wise people, and thinkers back in the day. Now we look up to entertainers and motherfuckers that's full of fucking bullshit. And these connecting it to like the modern day. It's like motherfuckers claim to be influencers, but they're not influencing people to go towards the truth. Because we value truth over comfort. Motherfuckers rather be comfortable than live in truth, because sometimes the truth is very fucking harsh. Sometimes the truth is very gruesome. Sometimes the truth is very hard to listen to or hard to bear. Like, for example, if ain't nobody ready to shoot at this fucking government, you a fucking pussy. Something like that. Because it make a person reflect on who they are. And then he'd be like, is I'm willing to shoot at the government? Is I'm willing to shoot at the police? Is I'm willing to die for my freedom or for the freedom of myself and my family if I have to take care of them, if they come to my doorstep? Everybody love Michael Jackson so much. Michael Jackson said, you better look at the man in the mirror and ask that motherfucker to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a fucking change. Michael Jackson. Whether anybody know it or not, that was a spiritual fucking song. Like whether anybody know it or not. But it's telling you to do the inner work and do the shadow work. And when you do the inner work and you do the shadow work, you won't have to be part of this system that supports stupidity. Because this leads to the movie Idiocracy. If I haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, look at that movie. At the beginning of that movie, they're doing a study. There's a couple that's doing a study. And they're trying to hold out on having children. And they're both smart, they both intellectual, they both got nice jobs. They both got heads on their shoulders. But they're trying to hold out. And there's another study of another family that's stupid as fuck, just popping out kids left and right. Bloop, 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 bloop. Going back to the study of the couple with heads on their shoulders, they're still going through it. You try to make sure everything is right. But the stupid motherfuckers, bloop, 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 dropping kids left and right. Becoming athletes and shit, dropping kids, baby mama drama, motherfuckers fighting, everybody bullshitting. Then, going back to the couple, I think the husband dies or some shit, and I think she's by herself with the fertilized eggs or whatever. They saying so many words. if we keep letting stupid people motherfucking keep populating this bitch, we're gonna be fucked. And if we keep letting the rulers of society keep distracting us with bullshit ass media and propaganda and bullshit ass music and poisoning our food and water and air, then we're all gonna be fucked. And it ain't just we, it's our children, our children's children, and our children's children. That's why I gotta carve the lane of revolution now. And I gotta start this shit before 2030 or on that exact date. Because while everybody online talking about the past and gender politics and identity politics and being afraid on what to do, there is only one solution, and it's revolution. Because all political solutions that people so-called had, it don't work. Protesting don't work. Voting don't work. So if none of that shit that we've been going through forever not working, then what else you gonna do? Because otherwise, y'all motherfuckers are insane. Do you know the definition of insanity? Do anybody know the definition of insanity? Doing the same shit over and 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 over again, expecting a different result. That's no different from a Christian still believing in fucking Christ, knowing that he's not here or going to show up and save us. This world is getting worse by the fucking day. Where's your God? And not just our God. Where's all the other gods at? We'll come when we won't feel like it. Get the fuck out of here. This world is doomed. This world was created to be destroyed. This world was created to be destroyed. Just look at it. Just look at it. You can even go to the Buddhist teaching of Buddha. It's like, look, man, life is suffering. Go to the Four Noble Truths of Buddha. Look, life is suffering. Deal with it. Make the best of what you got. Live a righteous life. Walk a righteous path. Have a righteous mind. And you'll be all right. But life is fucking suffering. Deal with it. You feel me? That's Buddha. You know what Buddha was? His name is Siddhartha. This motherfucker was a prince that chose to live the life of a homeless vagabond, enlightened people that walked past, and became a motherfucker that is known around the world. This motherfucker had followers. Some of his followers whooped his ass and then became his best followers because they had to learn their ways after what the fuck they done. After Buddha left his fucking palace, Siddhartha, after he left his palace and stayed on the street, the fucking palace was like, come on, man, come back home. Here's some food, here's some water, here's some girls, whatever. It's like, Buddha's like, I don't want none of that shit. Y'all motherfuckers sheltered me from what was outside these walls. I need to see what the fuck is outside this shit. What is going on in the world? What is death? What is homelessness? What is fear? Y'all sheltered me. Now I need to know the world. And he learned the world. And he realized that life is suffering. And the rest of the noble truths. Look up the story of Buddha. Going back to this, what we're talking about, how stupidity is valued over wisdom. And going back to the movie Idiocracy, how the motherfucker was just talking intellectually. They called him a fag. I remember growing up, motherfucker said, I talk like a white boy. Motherfucker said, I talk too intellectual. Wow, because I read a fucking book, the same books that we was reading growing up through this crazy indoctrination. Y'all just mad because I read more? The fuck out of here. They down us, call us nerds, call us dweebs, call us weebs, blurs, whatever the fuck. But let me tell you, stupid motherfuckers out there something. And I want y'all to remember this now to the end of motherfucking days. The nerds made your TV. We made your cell phone. We made that mechanical motherfucking machine in your factories. telephone. We made the shit that y'all love to look at. As a matter of fact, let's go back to the movie Revenge of the fucking Nerds. How about that? We are the ones that keep society motherfucking going while y'all motherfuckers look at the TV like, dude, that was funny. Never forget that. To the point where the fucking nerd is a goddamn evil supervillain named Bill Gates. Revenge of the fucking Nerds. Oh, Bill Gates, Microsoft, that fucking Xbox you love so fucking much. Dude, I love Xbox. Anybody know that not? We nerds control the fucking world. Or at least created the motherfucking entertainment to distract you from yourself. But I digress. Salute, Tammy. What up, though? Thanks for coming to hear your stupid lie yesterday. They tell you get your doses out of books. Give the man a break. They say, ha ha, I get it. Yeah. And most of the time you can't get your noses from books. You can only get a little bit of guidance, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of truth nuggets here and there. But you really get true gnosis by going through the experience of life. Going through the ups and downs, trials and tribulations, the bumps and bruises, walking through the abyss, drowning in the flood of life, swimming out the motherfucking darkness, you know, through the experience, and then you come out with a powerful ass aura and armor on. And then when people come to you, be like, man, I went through this, I went through that. You be like, look, this is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. And if they don't listen, that's on them. And I know motherfuckers be like, I don't want to say I told you so, but fuck that, say it. Be like, yo, shit, look, I already gave you the blueprint. You should have listened. But people think I don't know shit. But let me tell you, I've been through the most darkest shit. Shit that I can't even talk about online. Y'all only know what I tell y'all. They don't know about the fucking darkness. Motherfuckers manipulate the darkness. I was forged in it. I watch people, oh my fucking God. I watch people do the most destructive shit to themselves out of stupidity, selfish, and stubbornness. I seen people do the diabolical shit to themselves because they don't want to change for the better. My mom is an example. She could have been alive right now. When all she had to do is give me $250. Put you in this house. But no, you want to follow my little brother to an abandon. Fuck out of here. You say, yes, and a stupid lie. Try to message through with the full service. Yeah, but they never said it was professional. So yeah, just remember you're loved by the light. Yep. Bill Gates be reincarnated. That switched the keys at birth.
Seen as an act of rebellion. In a world that rewards certainty, the questioner becomes the heretic, and this is how the cycle begins. The powerful shape narratives that keep people entertained, outraged, or divided, anything but aware. The masses, drawn by emotion and novelty, feed the very system that deceives them. What once happened in the Athenian agora now happens in the endless scroll of our screens. We mistake noise for knowledge, trends for truth, and emotion for enlightenment. Friedrich Nietzsche once said that madness in individuals is rare, but in groups, it is the rule. This collective madness is what Socrates saw emerging when people stop thinking for themselves. When the crowd becomes the judge of truth, wisdom dies quietly. It is replaced by consensus, convenience, and comfort. Think about how easily we are persuaded today by slogans, headlines, or viral outrage. Few pause to ask, is this true? Is this right? Who benefits from my belief? Socrates would have loved these questions. He believed that the path to wisdom begins with doubt, not cynical doubt, but honest inquiry. He taught that truth is not found in agreement, but in examination. But here is the dark secret of modern society. The system does not want thinkers, it wants consumers.
The system don't want thinkers, it wants consumers. And mind you, if I go back to what John D. Rockefeller said, I don't want a nation of fucking thinkers, I need a nation of workers. Let's fuck up the education system. Let's fuck up the motherfucking medical system by making people more sick instead of being healed. And let's flood the motherfucking spots with a whole bunch of sweet shit for the kids to fuck their teeth up. Let's fuck up the shit to say, man, I'm talking about it. John D. Rockefeller. Look up how John D. Rockefeller even looked. That nigga looked like he's a reptilian. This nigga don't even look human. He looked like a nigga that threw on a motherfucking face and didn't take it off for like 1,000 years. And it's always the motherfuckers that look like they not human that's motherfuckers saying all this shit. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me just looking at them all, you know, like looking at them like, bitch, you look like an alien. You already know beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Obviously, he had a motherfucking chick that's fucked him. What was John D. Rockefeller's wife? She probably a motherfucking fat chicks that look like, I don't know, like Honey Boo Boo or something. But John D. Rockefeller said, man, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. So let's put this phony ass miseducation system in. Y'all memorize this shit, memorize that shit, and memorize that shit to the point where you are a worker. And then once you get out of school, you owe to school. So when you do get that dog ass job, you won't be able to enjoy your money because you got to pay off student fucking loans. Some system we fucking live in where mystery schools back in the day were free. So I digress.
Thoughtful people are difficult to control. They question authority, challenge assumptions, and seek meaning beyond material pleasure. That is why the worship of ignorance serves the powerful so well. When people are busy competing for attention, they are too distracted to notice their own manipulation. Socrates' method, the dialectic, was the antidote to this. Not to win, but to awaken. Every question, they are too distracted to notice their own manipulation. Socrates' method, the dialectic, was the antidote to this. He engaged in dialogue, not to win, but to awaken. Every question peeled back a layer of illusion. Imagine if that spirit returned to our schools, our conversations, our politics. Imagine a culture where disagreement was not a threat, but a pathway to understanding. Instead,
right. A disagreement shouldn't be a threat. It should be a path to understanding. We should be sitting here asking questions and exploring. Most of you people should ask the questions within yourself. Most of y'all afraid of that, but I'll help you out. The inner questions that I've had with myself years ago. This goes back years ago. The questions are, who am I? What am I doing here on this planet? And where do I go when I leave this bitch? Main three questions I had. And I explored. And I explored and I explored. To the point, who am I? I'm infinite consciousness, infinite awareness, driving a vehicle known as the human body. That was my conclusion that I came up to. Still my conclusion now. What I'm doing here, I'm here to live my life as righteous as possible, put out a message of truth through music, art, and literature, and podcasting. Take this truth, and then the revolution will begin. Where I go when I leave this bitch. Now that was the difficult one. Because there's so many heavens and hells and entities with other dimensions of their own. Then I realized, not realize. Then I came across some teaching from some cultures that you can go to a heaven of your own creation, the astral realm. You go, to what you fucking make. Which led me back to Bobby Hemming and Brother Panic saying we need to create our own rituals, our own spells, create our own symbols and sigils, our own altar work. Use our visualization to create our own reality and our own heaven when we leave this bitch. So we don't have to go to a place that belongs to someone. If you are infinite consciousness, infinite awareness, you are God, you are the monad, you are the logos, then you already have a heaven of your own. You probably just forgot about it, so you need to go within yourself and find it. Or otherwise, your ass is going to be sucked up into another person's heaven or hell, or your ass is going to get tossed back in the reincarnation cycle. The goal is to not come back to this bitch. And then you listen to Tupac lectures, not lectures, it was like an interview we did, and you finally understand what he meant by saying the only fear of death is coming back to this bitch reincarnated. Didn't understand it then because I was a brainwashed Christian, but when I got to spirituality and I started learning about other cultures and shit, it's just like, oh, I understand. No one wants to come back and live through pain and suffering, anxiety, depression, stress, anger, death, sadness. Who wants to come back to this planet? Nobody. I see why motherfuckers self-delete. Understandable. Because I've contemplated it many times and played Russian roulette. Click. I guess today ain't my day. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. Some people think life ain't worth living. Some people already checked out and gave up, and they just walking, like Walking Dead on the inside. You can see it in the eyes of these people. I have a video coming soon about that. But you can see it when you walk into a fucking supermarket. Everybody in that bitch. Mean mug, dead looking, soulless. And the rest of them are just like me. Man, what the fuck is up with these prices? The fucking shit was just $2 less last week. So where I'm going when I leave this bitch, it's my astral realm, my realm. Crystal cities, beautiful, radiant, white and gold, shining diamonds. Of my creation. And everybody that I think of is going to be there is going to be there. Then, after those 3 serious questions, now you move forward. What is the universe made out of? Do you find out energy, sound, vibration, and frequency waves and shit? It's just like when you look within and you ask those questions and you start going through the deep dives and going down the rabbit holes to find the answer within yourself, it's fucking amazing. Because now you get to embrace who you are without shame, without guilt, without regret. You don't have to be considered a flawed being. You don't have to be like, I'm not perfect. You are perfect. See, like the thing about me, when I was shattering paradigms growing up, and like it all started like whatever that was taught to me, whatever that was said to me, whatever that got put in my brain on some indoctrination shit, I'm doing the opposite and I'm saying the opposite. So when they say we're all not perfect, I say bullshit. We are perfect. We are perfect beings that do imperfect things sometimes. We are perfect because we are made in the image of a so-called perfect being, right? In your Bible, Jesus said, did my Father say not that ye are gods? So let's embrace our true power. Because everybody think it's all positive and all love and light. No, your God is good and evil. Every motherfucking God in every pantheon, every fucking culture has a level of good and evil. They act just like us. Going back to the term as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven. Why the fuck niggas in heaven got weapons? Who the fuck y'all fighting? Who y'all gang banging against? You feel me? Question everything. Use your common sense, critical thinking, and comprehension skills. And when shit don't make sense, you go within. And that's where you find your answer. Now let's get back to it so we can get up out of here.
We are trapped in echo chambers, surrounded only by voices that agree with us.
Salute, Tammy. Salute everybody in the chat.
Curiosity. But perhaps the most tragic part of all this is that we confuse freedom with choice. We believe we are free because we can choose between endless options, brands, opinions, ideologies. Yet Socrates would ask, if you cannot control your own mind, are you truly free? Freedom, he taught, begins within, in mastery of thought and desire. Without that inner freedom, external liberty is meaningless. In one of his dialogues, Socrates compares the soul to a charioteer trying to guide two horses, one noble and disciplined, the other wild and unruly. The charioteer represents reason, the horses, our desires. If reason loses control, the soul is dragged into chaos. That metaphor perfectly describes our society. Our technology, our impulses, and our appetites have become the wild horses. We are pulled by speed, pleasure, and immediacy, but the charioteer, reason, has fallen asleep. Psychologist Erich Fromm once warned that modern humans risk becoming automata, beings who appear free but are inwardly empty, following commands disguised as desires. The illusion of choice replaces the pursuit of truth, and that illusion, more than anything, is what Socrates sought to destroy. So here is the question that every thinking person must face. Are we living or are we merely reacting? Are we shaping our minds or letting them be shaped for us? Because the moment we stop questioning, we start worshipping, and whoever we...
Exactly. And if you don't have your own mind, someone else does. Remember that. You always got to stay constantly thinking and making sure that are these thoughts are mine, or was these thoughts planted in my mind through indoctrination or through what somebody told me yesterday or a couple seconds ago being on the phone. You must control every thought, every emotion, every second, every minute, every hour of every day. Because if you don't, your mind can be taken away by a frequency or somebody that's just popping up. You can be triggered by a word. Someone could motherfucker ruin your day. You have to hold your mind, or someone else will. And it's on all levels. It could be on the lowest level, such as companionship. You know what I'm saying? You know, it could be companionship, work related. You know what I'm saying? It's like something can always trigger you. Something can always trigger you. The goal is to control those emotions. Not saying that everything is going to happen all gravy all the time, because like some situations will make you fucking snap. But we got to embrace that shit. But if you know you right in the righteous way, you stand on it and you fight it. If you lose a job or a friend or a family member or a lover, then fuck it, so be it. You got to stand on truth. You got to stand on truth. You know, you got to stand on truth and make sure it's not your truth or the other person's truth. It needs to be the truth. Okay, that's the problem. Motherfuckers, I got my truth, they truth. No, nigga, what is the truth? What is the truth that is solidified and carved in the universe? What is the truth? But shouts out to everybody. Let's keep going.
Worship, whether an influencer, ideology, or false narrative, becomes our new God. Stay with me, because in the final part of this journey, we will uncover the most powerful lessons Socrates left for us. One that can awaken the modern mind from its sleep. We'll explore how wisdom can still be reborn in the age of noise, and how each of us can reclaim the inner power that society has taught us to surrender. The last truth is the most important one, and it may change how you see yourself and the world forever. Socrates taught that the greatest victory is not over others but over oneself. He understood that the decline of a society begins the moment individuals lose the courage to think independently. What we call the age of information is paradoxically an age of dependency. Dependency on opinion, validation, and authority. We are surrounded by noise yet starving for truth. And the deeper message of Socrates is that wisdom does not disappear from the world. It disappears from within us when we stop seeking it. The worship of fools begins when we stop respecting the inner voice of reason. It begins when we outsource our thinking to others, to trends, to headlines, to popular figures who promise certainty in exchange. Socrates refused, even when he stood before the Athenians for mercy. He said, "I live." In that moment, he showed that integrity of thought is worth more than life itself. His tragedy, a warning to all future civilizations. When a society kills its philosophy, its end is already written.
When society kills the truth and raise up, wow, they messing with me early at 9:30 now. Okay, I see what YouTube doing. It's too real. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, once they killed the philosophers and the thinkers and the truthers, killed them or locked them up, and they raise up the entertainers or the gladiators, the world is over. Society has crumbled. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding dies. No one searches for it. And no one is searching for it. Motherfuckers searching for smoking. Yep. Yep. Early in the morning. Wow. Now they hit me early in the morning with it. So no matter if I'm early, no matter if I'm in the afternoon or at night, they're going to keep on fucking with me. I'm not even going to motherfucking even try to adapt to this shit no more. Let's just try to get through this live and get up out of here. There's only like 4 minutes left, then we're going to be gone. Because if they doing that shit to me early, that's how I know they know that I'm catching on to them. So like they're trying to fuck with me now. So let's try to get through this and then I'm out. I'll try to catch y'all in the afternoon. If they throttle me, like if they motherfucking throttle my fucking channel, pause. If they fuck my channel over, okay, cool, fuck it. I'm gonna still try to go live anytime I fucking feel like it. I'm going with the flow. Because after going through this shit, I already motherfucking know that they are watching me. So let's get it. Let's get it. Let's finish this out then. We're going to get up out of here. I'm going to head to the stove. I might come back in about a couple hours. I'm not really sure. Or, shit. Like, fuck it. Let's just finish this out. YouTube just showed their hand.
Yeah, centuries later, applauding ignorance while crucifying thought. We have built temples of distraction where the altar is the screen, and the priesthood is composed of those who entertain the masses. But Socrates would not despair. He would remind us that every era of darkness is an invitation for awakening. The same ignorance that blinds the world can also provoke the birth of a new kind of thinker, one who questions, doubts, and refuses to be deceived. Wisdom has always been a rebellion, a quiet revolution that begins in the human soul. Ask yourself, do I live according to my own understanding or according to the noise that surrounds me? Do I seek truth or just validation? These questions are not comfortable, but they are the beginning of freedom. Because as long as you are afraid to confront your own ignorance, you remain a prisoner, not of society, but of your own mind. Socrates believed that knowledge was not something to be possessed, but something to be lived. He called it arete, excellence of soul. To live with arete meant to align your thoughts, words, and actions with truth, even when it was inconvenient. In our time, that kind of integrity is revolutionary. It means being willing to stand alone in a world that rewards conformity. It means valuing understanding over approval. The modern world tells you that success is measured by wealth, followers, and fame. But Socrates would ask, if you gain the world but lose your soul, what have you truly achieved? The pursuit of wisdom begins when you stop trying to impress others and start seeking to understand yourself. That is where true strength resides, not in how many people agree with you, but in how deeply you know your own mind. Carl Jung once wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Socrates would agree. Self-knowledge is the path to liberation. When you begin to understand yourself, your fears, your desires, your illusions, you become immune to manipulation. No propaganda, no influencer, no ideology can enslave a mind that knows itself. That is why the Socratic method is more relevant today than ever. It is the cure for a civilization addicted to appearances. But the question remains, can wisdom survive in a world that rewards ignorance? The answer is yes. but only if individuals choose to keep the flame alive within themselves. Every time you question instead of reacting, you light that flame. Every time you choose reflection over outrage, silence over noise, truth over convenience, you resist the culture of foolishness. You become, in a way, a modern disciple of Socrates. Remember, he never wanted followers, he wanted thinkers, people capable of facing the truth even when it hurt. Because the truth does not enslave, it liberates. It strips away illusion and leaves only what is real. And while that may be uncomfortable, it is also the birthplace of wisdom, peace, and authenticity. So perhaps the antidote to our worship of fools is not anger or cynicism, but awakening, a quiet revolution of awareness, a return to the inner dialogue, the same dialogue Socrates began thousands of years ago. The moment you dare to ask yourself, what is true, you step outside the crowd and into your own light. And maybe that is what our society needs most, not another voice shouting into the void, but millions of silent thinkers awakening from their sleep. Because when enough minds begin to question, the illusion collapses. Truth, like light, does not fight darkness, it simply reveals it. So let the words of Socrates echo once more across the centuries. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. It is not a confession of weakness, but a declaration of freedom. It is the starting point of genuine intelligence, the humility that opens the door to understanding. If you've reached this point, it means you are not satisfied with the shallow answers of the modern world. You are part of the few who still seek meaning in an age of madness. And for that, Socrates would call you a philosopher, not one who loves debate, but one who loves truth. So before you leave this video, ask yourself one final question. Am I living awake or am I still asleep among the dreamers? The answer to that question could change everything. If this message resonated with you, share it. Let it reach others who might still be asleep, because wisdom spreads not by force but by inspiration. Subscribe. Leave your thoughts.
Yep. And with that being said, shout out to everybody coming through. Shout out to Monkey Man. Shout out to Eyes Wide Shut. Shout out to Live and Learn. Shout out to Tammy. And much love to my goddess, Vonta. See, when you get off of work, baby, as soon as you get in, kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Grab that coffee and good weed, baby. Catch you in a minute. YouTube just try to hit me up through the early morning live. So, which lets me know it really don't matter if I'm going live in the morning, afternoon, or night. But it is what it is. I might go live in the afternoon, probably like around 2. Who knows? I'm just going with the flow. Going with the flow. But catch you on the next one. About to run some errands real quick. I need some blunts. Need some blunts too. Yep. But shout out to everybody coming through. This is Fantastic Frequency Friday. Happy Friday, high day. Happy Fantastic Frequency Friday. Time to do it my way. Bars. I'm out.